Welcome to the Blueprint Breakers podcast. What is a blueprint breaker? If you live your life outside the typical traditional lifestyle blueprint, you are a blueprint breaker. We are here to start a conversation, to assemble resources, and to build a community. This podcast is for empowered women in midlife and beyond who are preparing for a powerful next era of life. My name is Amy A. Palmer. I am your host and facilitator for our conversations. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. To stay connected, up to date, and to receive all of our free resources and gifts along the way, join us at community.blueprintbreakers.com. I attended a party the other day and I was reminded how curious people still are about an unconventional lifestyle that's outside of the norm. Because one of the first questions people ask when I meet them in different areas is, where do you live? And that's always such a complicated question for me to answer. I typically say, oh, I'm fully nomadic. So I move all over and sometimes leave it at that. Sometimes people are like, what does that mean? What do you mean? And so I tell them a little bit more. But it pointed out for me at this party the other day that people are still curious and there's a lot of unanswered questions or things that people wonder about. So I thought I'd take an episode and talk about some of the questions that I get asked. I did put out some feelers and some requests to the audience online for any questions that you've been curious about and maybe even afraid to ask or too shy to ask. Go ahead and ask me. I'm happy to talk about it. Let me jump in here real quick with a really special announcement. The Strategic Spotlight Studio is now open. It's a done-for-you content bundle for women-led businesses who want to amplify their voice without doing more. You get podcast features, custom videos, newsletters, social promotion, all created for you so your message carries further with less effort. I am opening the doors for a few clients. If you're interested, check out the link in the show notes or go to my Instagram at amypalmer.today. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And the questions, they fall into like more logistical type questions and categories. So I'm going to talk about those first. And then there's some of the less direct questions that sort of imply a deeper question that's a little more emotional, personal, et cetera. So I'm going to get into those after I cover some of the logistics. So a common question is, how do I decide where to go next and how far in advance do I plan? And it varies, actually. I tend to decide based on things that are happening in my life and in the lives of people that I love and care about. And so I gear my trips around there. So a perfect example is my current stay where I am right now. I'm in the Hudson Valley in New York. And in a part of New York that I am not familiar with, even though I grew up in upstate New York. I did not spend time here. I'm near Newburgh and Beacon. And I chose this location because my good friend's son had a graduation party this past weekend, and they live about a half hour from here, from where I am right now. And so what I did when I found out the date of this celebration, I knew that I wanted to be in the vicinity and my schedule was available. So I started looking in the vicinity of where they lived and then just kept widening my circle, looking for something that looked nice, that was inspiring for me, where I could get a lot of work done and still have a good time and do some exploring and stay within my budget. And I wanted a second bedroom so I could have guests to come visit. So the radius of the circle of where I did my search just kept widening until I found this location in a town I'm completely unfamiliar with, and then decided on how much time did I want to stay there. And so I chose, I'm in my current location for 6 weeks. And so that's how I decided this particular location. Now, sometimes I'm just booked out like a couple of months at a time, sometimes a little bit longer. It has to do with things that are going on with people's lives, but it also has to do with my own personal finances. Like I want to have a certain amount coming in at a particular time in order to arrange for an Airbnb or a hotel or whatever. And so that depends. There have been periods of time where I have stayed with family for a month or two at a time in between other stays. So the timeline really depends. Like right now, I'm booked out to the end of the year pretty much. The first part of August, I'm going to be in upstate New York to celebrate my parents' 60th wedding anniversary. And then starting at the end of August, I'm heading to San Diego to house sit for a close friend. And I'm going to be there for quite some time into like early October. And then at the end of October, I'm heading to Thailand for a couple of boot camps and masterminds. And so I'm extending my stay there by a couple of weeks around those events. Then when I come back, that's the holidays. So I'll probably go stay with family, or I don't know. I haven't quite decided November, December completely yet. And then I'm hoping January, I am thinking of doing a co-working retreat in January in Puerto Rico with other like-minded creative digital entrepreneurs for us to get together and share a space and do our work together, et cetera. So that, in a nutshell, that is how I decide where to go and how far in advance I plan it. And I thank my friend Amy for submitting that question as well. All right, let's see. Next, how do I find places to stay? I have used Airbnb. I have used VRBO. I've also used Furnished Finder. Furnished Finder it's similar to the others, but it's a minimum of a 1-month stay. It was designed to appeal to travel nurses, but the owners have quickly caught on that digital entrepreneurs are good tenants as well. So the good thing about Furnished Finders is it doesn't have a lot of the extra fees that Airbnb and VRBO do. So sometimes you can find the same property there as is on Airbnb, but saving money. And that's because it doesn't charge the landlords as much. What do you do with your stuff? Overall, I have what I consider a home base in Short Hills, New Jersey, which is my brother and my sister-in-law and their family's home. And that is really my home base. And I've rented a storage unit near their home with my belongings. Now, I'll tell you, I have downsized to virtually nothing. I have really hardly any furniture in there. It's mainly clothes, personal items, all the nostalgia, like my photo albums, like all the stuff that you have. My kitchen stuff. I still have a lot of kitchen stuff, dishes and things like that. Books. I have my books there. So that's all in storage. Now, one thing I learned is I started out with a really small, tight little storage unit, and it all fit in there and it packed. The problem was anytime I wanted to get something, it was, oh my God, it was a major hassle to try to dig stuff out and then pile it back in, et cetera. So I have ended up renting a larger, it's almost like a room size unit so that I could set my stuff up like a room. And so that I can access it easier. I can swap things out easier. And things have started to get organized into sections. Like I have a winter section and then a summer section. And so when I'm between stays and when I'm swapping out my load of stuff, it's getting easier over time. And that's also how I pack, what in certain plastic containers, travel bags. I use big travel bags for clothes and lots of duffels and stuff. Every time I know just what bags to pull. And I've got different versions of the bags as well. Packing cubes really, really help because I can organize different stays and the clothes that I'm going to use. I can organize it by packing cube. I wish I had gotten color coded packing cubes though. All my packing cubes are the same color and it would be great to have them as like different colors. The other thing is in my storage unit, it's good to label everything. It's amazing how much I forget what is in what and where. So keeping things labeled so I can easily access it. Okay, so what do I do on stuff? I answered that one. What kind of work setup do you need and how do you manage it on the go? I have a lot that I can use. I have a portable desk that folds up, which has come in handy for some stays. And I also have a tripod with a little platform that you can put a laptop on that has come in handy. And I have keyboards and trackpads to attach to my laptop. I don't always use it. I have multiple ring lights and multiple tripods for my phone and camera. So it really depends on where I am and what the setup is like, where I'm going. I have a podcast microphone. So sometimes I'm using all the equipment and sometimes very simple. In terms of requirements for where I'm staying, I need to have very good, fast, reliable internet, obviously, to be able to do my work. But beyond that, if I have my laptop and good, reliable internet, I can make it happen almost under any conditions. I've even learned because somebody asked me about what about like background noise and other things going on, especially if you're recording an episode or an interview or you're in a work meeting. If I'm in a work meeting, I could easily just put on headphones from whatever guest room or whatever I'm in, and background doesn't make a difference. But I've also found that many, many, many public libraries have private study rooms that they will let you use. There's time limits on it and you can't use it every single day. Sometimes it's like once or twice a week. But I have used several libraries for important phone calls and important interviews and things like that when I was not sure about what the environment was going to be like where I'm staying. I don't want to rely on having to tell someone else, oh, I'm recording something, I need background quiet or whatever. So that's what I do there. Do you drive, fly, or use public transport between places? Yes. It's all of the above. It's been mainly driving, and that's because my priority has been to be around, like, as I've chosen a lot of my locations, a lot of it has been East Coast, Mid-Atlantic area. And so that's very drivable for me and driving distance from my home base in New Jersey. But I also go to California frequently. And when I do that, I will either rent a car or for the entire time, or even like this last retreat that I did in La Jolla, I was actually right down the street from a rental car place. I was in La Jolla for a few weeks, but instead of renting a car for the whole time, I just rented for a day. I had considered trying the app Turo, which is like Airbnb for cars. I haven't tried it yet, but I've heard good things about it for getting around. In terms of flying, yes, so I fly to California. Obviously, I fly when I'm going out of the country, like when I went to Bali or when I'm going to Thailand. And I'm telling you, points are your friend. For the super, super long flights, I do whatever I can to upgrade my seats. I want as comfortable of a seat and as comfortable of a trip as I possibly can get. And for me, that's worth it. So I rack up my points on my various credit cards. Obviously, I think a lot of people know that the Chase Sapphire card is great for travel benefits, but my American Express card as well, and as well as the frequent flyer program through Delta, and through the hotels, Marriott, Bonvoy, all of those. So definitely stay on top of points and using points. How do you handle mail and official documents? I have my home base in New Jersey, so my mail is going to my brother's house, and my sister-in-law, bless her heart, puts it aside for me until the next time I'm coming through. I do have notifications, United States Postal Service notifications, so I know exactly what's arriving. So if it is something critical and important, I can have somebody open it up and read it to me. However, there are services that I've looked into as well. There is mail receiving services that they'll send you pictures of the mail and they can open it up for you or forward it to you wherever you are. If I'm in a place for an extended period of time, like when I was in Delaware for all of the winter at Rehoboth Beach, I had my mail forwarded during that time. Do you have health insurance or a plan for medical care while on the road? I do have health insurance through New Jersey. I have marketplace insurance through the state of New Jersey. And so it doesn't have a lot of out of network care. So I rely on urgent care if I'm traveling around within the states. Out of the states, I use Safety Wing travel insurance, medical insurance, because it's reasonably priced and comes highly recommended by several people that I know. How do you manage food, fitness, or staying health? Oh God, or staying healthy in unfamiliar places? This is exactly why I've had a one-on-one coach for this topic for the last few months. Some of you may know I am a member of the No BS weight loss program, which I love and I highly recommend. You still got to do you still got to do it. You still got to put the work in. And I have determined that my downfall is a change of location, a change of environment. Every single time I go someplace new, I'm almost starting from scratch in terms of setting up sort of my systems for eating and shopping and getting movement, getting healthy movement. And it depends on seasonally what's happening weather-wise, because I love to get my exercise outside, not always possible all year round. So that is a challenge for me, which is one of the reasons why I engaged a coach. And she has been phenomenal at helping me build up processes and systems so that every time I start someplace new, I can go, like, I know what I need to do. Like, I need to figure out what my meal plan is, and I need to identify where I'm shopping and what my shopping lists are and what I need to do there. And then how am I going to get my healthy activity? Is it going to be indoors? Do I need to rely on YouTube videos? Is it going to be going for walks? Do I have access to a pool? All of those things. So putting my plan into place as soon as I get to a new place is very, very helpful. But I needed a coach to help me do that. And as a matter of fact, my coach, Lizzie, she's going to come on this podcast because I want her to share some of the things that she's taught me. So stay tuned for that in a future episode. What apps, tools, or gear make your lifestyle easier? Okay, so at what apps, tools, or gear? I mentioned like packing cubes make my lifestyle easier. Apps. I use Yelp a lot. And I use Eventbrite to find out what's going on in a place. When I get to a new place, one of the first things I do is do a deep dive search on what the social culture calendar is in that area. So I will actually, before I get to a place, I'll join Facebook groups for that town, that community, that county, and continue to look for more. Sometimes there's specialty groups in an area on a topic that I'm interested in. And then I do online searches for events calendar for such and such county, events calendar for such and such town. And I will bookmark those calendars as I find them. I'm looking for local blogs about the area to find out what's going on. I will go on Google Maps and look up walking trails to find out what's nearby. I'll look up arboretums. I will look up gardens. I will look up parks. That I look up festivals, art festivals. I look up live music. So I do a lay of the land online, and I make a list. Like, I make a little checklist in my phone for this location. For example, where I am right now in Newburgh, I have a checklist called Newburgh Work, all the stuff I want to get done work-wise while I'm here. Newburgh Fun, all the fun things I want to do while I'm here. And so I build up that list almost as soon as I arrive, sometimes a little bit ahead of time, but not really. I don't do a lot of pre-planning. All right. So last question in the logistical category. This one comes in from Annette. She says, I would be interested to learn more about how you plan life and work in general and sustain financial stability, specifically within the nomad lifestyle. So I've talked about some of the in general stuff. Financial stability, yes. One of the ways that I did that, first of all, is I got my monthly expenses down to as close to zero as I possibly could. Paid off my car, paid off my credit cards. I unsubscribed from as many subscriptions and many online stuff as I possibly could, went through my Apple and eliminated like apps that I was subscribed. Like, I really combed through my expenses in great detail and brought them way down so that I could live as inexpensively as I possibly could. That's the first thing. And I did that early on as I was preparing to do this. And the other piece is I've learned that I have to mix paid stays where I am going to be for a period of time and I'm paying to stay there, whether it's through Furnished Finder, Airbnb, whether it's a hotel, whatever it is. I have to have house guest stays in between those, most often with my parents or with my brothers. That has been very, very helpful because I don't know that I would be able to have a paid Airbnb that I'm enjoying as much as I am every single day of the year round, because it would not be financially feasible for me. I would say if the financial stability piece is of concern, you need to have some places where you can stay at no cost, or own a place that you've paid for that has minimal cost, which is my goal. That's my goal, is to own a home base, minimal cost, pay it off, and minimal care, so that I've got that base, but then I can venture out and go to fancier, nicer places as I travel and move around. In terms of income coming in, I think everybody's different. But for me, I do love going from gig to gig. I do love going from project to project. And for those of you that don't know, I've done so many different things in the last couple of years since I became nomadic in 2022. So I'm on 3 years of doing this. I experimented and did a ton of different stuff in a lot of different directions and utilized skills in all different areas. And things have sort of evolved into what I recently launched as the Blue Sky Creative, where I am focused on creating online digital curriculum for companies. I am creating and producing podcasts for companies and creating and producing digital content for companies as well. That has been the pattern and the connecting thread with all the various types of projects that I've been doing. So in order to have financial stability, I have to have at least a few retainer type clients, more longer term clients. I don't want to have too many of those because I like to supplement it with smaller ad hoc project gigs. But if I can have a couple of retainer clients that cover my living expenses and everything that I need to live, then that gives me the stability that I need. Now, there have been periods of time where I have not had that, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was really rough. I went months without having steady clients and just doing little projects here and there and tapping into my savings and using my savings. That was not fun and was not easy. But the biggest challenge for me during those times was managing the emotional part of it, the stress and anxiety that came with that. That was the hardest for me because I still had faith, like deep down, I had faith that I was doing the right thing. I had faith that something was going to come together and that I was on the right path and that the things that I was doing was making a difference. But in terms of financial stability, you need to have a couple of primary clients for sure. Okay, we're going to get into some of the more personal questions that people ask. Do you ever feel lonely? I don't. I haven't. I don't know if it's because we are on the other side of the pandemic. What I experienced with extended isolation during the pandemic, there were parts of that experience that was actually beautiful, where parts of it where I thrived, and parts of it that were really lonely and really difficult, and especially towards the end and even the aftermath of it, even after things started opening up. I don't know if you have experienced something similar, but I'm basically an introvert with a touch of extroversion. Like, I like my alone time. I like my space. And unfortunately, the older I get and the longer I go living on my own, the more I need that and the more I need my space. But if I do that for too long, I can spiral and start to get depressed. So I do need to have connection. I need to have a real connection, real conversation, The hard part about meeting new people is getting to the real conversation, getting past the chit chat and the just making small talk. I like real connection. So I haven't been lonely because I've been around people probably more now than I had been the previous decade and a half before I started doing this, because I'm choosing my trips based on people that I know and love. And even if I'm going someplace where there's nobody there that I know, I'm inviting people to come visit. By doing that, I'm spending quality time with people that I love and care about. So I'm having real good connection. Or if I'm a guest in their home, I'm spending more quality time with some of my friends that I haven't spent quality time with in a really long time. And it's different than like a quick visit when you live in the same town. It takes on a different level. So I haven't been lonely. I love connecting with the area. I've definitely gotten comfortable with doing things by myself and enjoying doing things by myself. I went to watch a dance performance on Friday night by myself. It was outdoor, it was different. It was at a really unique art gallery, and I went all by myself, and I happened to run into the man who's renting me this place and his friends. I got to have a little bit chat with them, but I still sat by myself, which I wanted to, and enjoyed the experience and had a great time. So I don't really get lonely. Now, if you are very extroverted, I think I think there are successful nomads out there who are also very extroverted, but I think you really, really have to put in the effort of making sure there are people with you in the places that you're planning. Because going into a new place and trying to meet brand new people is really, really difficult. Some people, some nomads are really good at that and do that a lot. I'm not as good at that yet. How do you actually afford this lifestyle? I think I talked about that one as well, very carefully, keeping the costs really low, having some income coming in. Technically, can I really afford it? Probably not. I'm probably not. I know I'm not saving enough for retirement. I still have strong faith and conviction that the financial preparation for retirement is still coming. I know I'm later in the years. I'm behind. I get all that. Do I worry about that? Yes, of course I worry about that. And yet there's still this core belief that it's coming and it's going to be taken care of. When things go wrong, like illness, car trouble, or bad Airbnbs, knock on wood, I have not had a bad Airbnb or a bad furnished finder. Now, I will say that if I'm staying for an extended period in someplace, I do have a FaceTime tour of the location with the owner, and I do a lot of due diligence to find out background information about the owner as much as I possibly can. So I haven't had an issue with that. Car trouble knocks me on my ass. That's happened a couple of times where I've been on the road. One time it was a flat tire. The other time it was the check engine light came on. And it's both occasions stopped me in my tracks. Now, I handled it. I got myself to a safe place. I got the car repaired. People knew where I was. I was totally safe, secured, stable, but my anxiety during the experience was off the charts. So I'm not good at handling the things that when things go bad and I'm feeling insecure or unsafe. So that's something that I'm trying to work on. And illness, knock on wood, that has not been a challenge. Do you ever worry you're running away from something? That thought has occurred to me sometimes because it makes me wonder, do I have a fear of commitment with everything? I don't know. And I don't know if it's a fear of commitment or just a preference not to have long-term commitment. I don't know. It doesn't feel like I'm running from something. It feels like I'm expanding and learning and growing towards something. And now the thought that I had, and this was back just post pandemic when I was trying to figure out what to do next in my life when I was living in California, the thought that I had was, okay, I'm over 50, over 55 at this point. I don't have a partner. I don't have kids. So theoretically, I have all the freedom in the world. Why don't I just maximize and use that freedom as much as I possibly can while I still can? That was the thought that I had. And that's what has led to everything that I've been doing. How do you maintain a sense of home, routine, or stability? I've talked about that a little bit. I will tell you, I bring pieces of home with me. I bring small pieces of art. I bring my music. I bring my Alexa wherever I am. I bring photographs. I bring my digital frame of photographs. So I bring personal touches that I add to every space that I'm in. And I change those pieces out. I'll get new stuff out of the storage the next time I go somewhere. So that kind of keeps me connected to home. So one of the things that I've heard, now this wasn't a question that was put in, but this is a comment and response that I get a lot when I share with people in person in real life when we're talking about this lifestyle. People that say, wow, you're so lucky you could do that. I wish I could do that. I can't get away. Like obviously they have responsibilities, obligations, maybe a job that they can't work remotely, or they have children that are still depending on them, et cetera, et cetera. I want to say something to you. You may not be able to bounce around all the time, year round. You can take some time for yourself and have a mini little nomadic experience, a mini little sabbatical. It could be a weekend, it could be a day, it could be a half day, it could be an hour. You could do it and get a taste of this freedom and this taste of reflection and this taste of being able to learn and grow and experience new things. You could look on Airbnb and look for a place within an hour of where you live. Take a road trip and rent a place for a day. I highly, highly, strongly recommend it. My peers and relatives and friends that are around my age group, that are in between caring for their parents and caring for their kids. I'm fortunate right now. I don't have to do either at the moment. Most that do, they have so much weighing on their shoulders a lot of the times. And I do see the stress that they experience. I do see the anxiety that they have. Some are better than others around seeking out joy and having good quality fun with your partner, with your spouse, with people close to you. I'm going to take a step further and suggest that you carve out ways to do that for yourself solo, to really, really, really learn how to enjoy doing that and getting the joy out of it. Highly recommend it. I believe it will enhance the rest of your relationships and enhance the rest of your obligations and the work that you do and things like that. So just a thought that I felt like I needed to share. I've learned so much over these last 3 years. I've learned that I have a strong need to be creative. I have a strong need to stay connected with nature. I have a strong need to stay connected with friends and loved ones. I am immensely grateful that I've been able to spend much more quality time with my family over these last 3 years. And I'm learning to enjoy the journey and not have my eyes so focused on the destination. If you have any questions about the nomadic lifestyle that I haven't answered or that you're curious about, please don't hesitate to drop me a line. You can drop me a DM and Instagram. I'm at amypalmer.today. You can send me an email, amy@amyapalmer.com. I'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, have a great week. Keep on breaking those blueprints and rewriting your own.